Welcome to Pet Sitter Confessional. Today, we're brought to you by Time to Pet and the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters. Making a transition in our life is never easy, but sometimes it's exactly what we need to do to live the life that we want. Today, we're really excited to have Lori Holt, owner of Stow Road Pet Sitters, on the show to talk about her transition out of her corporate job into the pet care industry. How she works hard to overcome the administrative burden that comes on unexpectedly. How she's been balancing offering a wide range of services from in-home care to also doggy daycare, and how subscriptions have changed her business model. Lori also shares the importance of focusing on customer service and having empathy for others. Let's get started.
Yes, my name is Lori Holt. I am the owner of Stow Road Pet Sitters, LLC. We are a full-service pet care company based out of Marlborough, Massachusetts, which, for those who don't know where Marlborough is, it's about like 30-ish miles west of Boston, between Boston and Worcester. That's where we're located. And we're a thriving city of about 41,000 people, so lots of pets and pet parents to service and meet, and I love living here.
And you say you're a full-service business. What does that mean to you and how you help your clients?
Yeah, I like to tell people I do a little bit of everything. I do doggy daycare in the mornings. We do midday doggy daycare at my house from about 7 to 11. After that, we drop our pups off, which people love that. Like, they can drop their dog off before they go to work, and then I bring them home, and they're thrilled that their dog gets out of the house for a little bit. And then at that point, I start my daily dog walks. Midday-ish, like 11 to 4. I also have my vacation clients that take up a lot of my time, especially during busy season. Lots of cats and dogs, both. And of course, we do boarding here at the house too. Boarding is already getting very full for the summer, so very excited for that.
Yeah, I really love that service of the morning to midday daycare, and then you take them to their homes. It's such I love that concept. I'm sure the clients do too, because it's just super convenient for them. And you're not having dogs at your house for 10, 11, 12 hours during the day.
Yes. I've got a really core group now. I started offering monthly subscriptions. First month I started offering that was in March, so it's still a fairly new thing for me, but it's worked out really well. People just commit to the same days every week to week, month to month, and their invoice at the front of the month. They don't even have to worry about it. It just auto charges through Time to Pet. Shout out to Time to Pet. Love the software. So good. So, one of the great things about my doggy daycare versus like a lot of other, brick and mortar type of places, for example, I have smaller groups. I typically have about like 4 dogs a day. That's like kind of the upper number. Sometimes it's like 1 or 2, but it's usually hovers around 4. And it's the same dogs, right? So they get to know each other. It offers like safer play groups because we're not like constantly introducing new pups, and they just have a really great time. They come home exhausted. I hear that all the time. They're like, wow, I don't know what you did, but he has been napping since he got home. So good job.
Well, and I know that you had a really special dog that made a big impact in your own life, right? Mm-hmm. That I'd love for you to tell us more about that and her.
Yes. My dog's name is Harley. She is a 7-year-old female pit mix. She's a part pit, part Australian cattle dog, blue heeler. So she was adopted by my fiance back in 2018. So I met her when she was about 2. And I didn't grow up with dogs. People always find that fun fact to be fun and interesting. I actually was kind of afraid of dogs for most of my life. Thanks, Mom. Oh. She's always like, dogs are going to bite you. Don't trust dogs. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, so it wasn't until I met Harley that I really got to know how awesome and rewarding having a dog in your life can be. And she stole my heart. And now I just love every single dog that I meet. And my kids love her. It's just awesome. I've been a pet sitter for 3 years. I started in 2021, in May of 2021. So almost my 3rd anniversary. Ah. I'm rounding at this point, Colin. It's like right there.
It's like when your kids are like, it's when they get to the half, and then after the half, they just start rounding up the next 6 months. And so I totally understand it.
Exactly. So I started out on Rover, actually. I know Rover gets a bad rep, but I'm forever grateful to that app because it got me to where I am today. It's been quite a journey along the way, but now, my private pet care business takes up a lot of my my time, But yeah, we didn't name it Stow Road Pet Sitters until we moved to the location we're at now, which was in June of 2022. We were in the process of buying a house. It took us almost a year to find a house. So I was like, come on, I want to name my business, but I want to name it after wherever we end up. So we live on Stow Road. So that's where the name came from.
Oh, that's nice. So back in 2021, what got you started in this and looking into this weird world that we're all in?
Yeah. So that was, obviously still very much at the beginning of the pandemic. Even though I was fully employed at the time at my corporate job, I was severely in debt, $40,000 roughly in debt, which was kind of the start of all of this. This is an important part of my story. I've been on this debt-free journey now since January of 2021. I remember one day I just was feeling really like down and out on myself. Like, we all have those days where you're like, oh my God, how am I ever going to get out of this hole that I built myself? And my best friend, she had always been trying to get me to check out Dave Ramsey. He's a financial coach. Sure, most people know that name. He's been around forever. And I remember at the time I was just like, no, I can't. This is too strict. I can't do it. And then I must have saw it on YouTube or something. Like his name came back to my head, and I was like, oh, that guy. Hold on, found his website. There's this little like debt-free calculator on there, and it has you like put in all your debts, how much you owe on all of them, and it tells you how long it will take you to pay off your debt if you just keep doing minimum payments, which is what I was doing. And it was like 9 years. Oh. I was like, well, my kid is 10. My oldest is 10. I have 3 kids. And at the time she was 10, I was like, well, she will already be in college at that point. So that does not help me at all because, I want to be able to I'm not going to pay for all of their college education, but I would like to give them a little bit of money to help them, when they start out. And I was like, well, okay, we definitely need to speed this up because I don't have that much time on my hands. So what am I going to do? So it was at that point that I started working with a financial coach that I met through Ramsey's website. And I've been working with him ever since. He helped me to really get a hold of where all my money was going and give me a better idea of what I needed to do to get out of the hole. And it became very obvious after a couple of months of reviewing my budget, you need to make more money. That's number one. So he's like, well, what about do you have time for a second job? I'm like, well, oh, maybe. Yeah. All right. So I went on Google and I put in best side hustles. And one of the first things that popped up was dog walking. And as I just mentioned, I recently inherited this awesome dog that I have grown very fond of. And I said, well, I have a dog. I like walking dogs. We could give this a try. I thought it could work really well because at the time we're all working from home. I can walk a dog on my lunch break. I can walk a dog in the evenings or the weekends or whatever. Oddly enough, everybody that reached out to me when I first signed up on Rover was looking for boarding and not dog walking.
Yep.
Because it was May of the first year that things kind of opened back up and everyone's like, we're going on vacation. Can you watch our dog? So we were very busy that first summer. And I'm proud to say we still have a majority of those clients from the very first summer we were in business. And we watch them every year. It's like clockwork. So it's been fantastic.
Oh, and so what were you doing? You said you had a corporate job full time at that time. What kind of were you doing and involved in?
I was working for a supplement company. I was doing customer service there, and I worked there. So from the time I started till the time I quit was 6.5 years roughly. And I loved that job. It was probably my favorite job aside from the job I have now. But I want to say that was my first big girl job, I call it, because I was a stay-at-home mom for the longest time. And that was my first real job. And I grew up so much and learned so much. And a lot of the great customer service I have now with my clients, I learned at that job. And I worked in the call center. So we were taking like 50 phone calls a day. You talk to a lot of people. Especially during the pandemic. We were getting call after call. You hang up your phone, you get another phone call. You hang up your phone, you get another phone call. It was just like banana land. Because everyone was like, I don't want to get sick. What can I take to stay healthy?
Sure.
And I learned a lot of empathy through that job. Like, over and over again, I would talk to people who had some really serious health problems that were just like, I don't know what to do. My doctors aren't helping me. What should I do? What can I take? And just like constantly learning. Like, that is where I really grew a passion for like learning and getting good at what I'm doing, because people were counting on us to help them. And I sort of became the person in my team of like, oh, Lori knows the answer to that. Oh, Lori knows the answer to that, because I just love learning and I love helping. Helping is a huge part of my passion. I've always known that I wanted to be a helper of some sort. I didn't really know what that looked like for most of my life. I now know what it was, but I really enjoyed that job a whole lot, and I'm really happy that it was a part of my life.
Well, you said that phrase. I learned a lot of empathy, and that is such a key aspect of what we do. And I can't even imagine the kind of people that you were talking to. But I'm sure you kind of get that feeling of everybody calls with an emotion, right? Everybody calls for a reason, and not that we have to take on that emotional burden and make it a part of who we are, but just understanding where they're coming from and why they may be a bit more terse, or why they are a bit more rushed, or maybe interrupting us, or not, saying thank you, or things like those come from some place. And when it comes to customer service, just understanding where somebody's coming from allows us as a much better way of handling that. And we know how to steer that conversation and what we need to say to keep things moving forward. And you also said the phrase helper there. And I know that that's a really big part of what you do and how you view yourself. So from your perspective, Lori, what does it mean to be a helper?
So, you have to really learn how to read people and their body language and like what it is that each specific client needs. Some folks need a lot more hand holding than others. I'm sure you know that to be true. One of my favorite things about my job is like when I am at a meet and greet and you just kind of like see the potential client's shoulders just like go down, and like you see them take a deep breath, and like the stress is just kind of like melting away, and like I'm helping them to have that peace of mind that their dog is going to be like in good hands while they're away or out of the country. And it's like very much a favorite part of my job, just being able to help people with their needs.
Especially when you understand where people are coming from, right? All of a sudden what we do takes on an immense weightiness to it, right? Mm-hmm. Where all of a sudden, like I was just reflecting on this just yesterday, of the clients that come to us, sometimes, what that pet means to them. Sometimes that pet was their husband's dog and the husband has since passed away, or maybe that dog was something or the cat helped them through. And now all of a sudden they're taking you and they're walking up to you and basically saying, protect my most prized possession. And it's like, okay, like let's really sit with this and understand what we get to do for that person. And it kind of makes you, not question, but starts trying to understand like, yeah, how do I get better at this? And you mentioned that you learned that while you're at the call center of that's where you grew your passion for learning, because when we get connected with that of like, oh man, what I do is really important. I have to make sure that I know what I'm doing and I'm not just winging this. Have you heard of Time to Pet? Chrisanne from Raining Cats and Dogs has this to say.
Becoming a Time to Pet client has been a game changer for us. We can give our pet services clients real-time, cloud-based information they never imagined they'd be interested in. And most importantly, to me personally, I can better manage my company and look forward to more. And not a small thing, Time to Pet is responsive to my requests for new features, and modifications to existing ones.
If you're looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Listeners of our show can save 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional.
First of all, I wanted to say thank you guys for your awesome podcast, because truly, I don't think I would be where I am today without it. I remember the day I found your podcast. I was out walking a dog and I was feeling really lonely because working in the call center, we were working in person as a team, just this positive buzzing energy, and then you go from that to being home alone. And I'm an extrovert. I really thrive off of other people's energy. And I just remember out walking a dog on my lunch break, and I was just feeling really down. And sorry.
Oh.
So I went on to Spotify and I typed in pet, and you guys popped up right away. And I was like, what is this? You guys were on episode 250 or something at that point. I was like, this has been here this whole time. What have I been doing? And it was in one of those episodes where I learned about the Texas Pet Sitters Conference. And I was like, what is this all about? And I went. I knew nobody that would be there. I did it. And I'm so glad I did, because it was a change. It was just a shift in my seeing that people can do this as a full-time job. I remember when I was at my corporate job, someone was at oh, how's the pet stuff going? I always get that question, how's the pet stuff going? Oh, it's going good. Oh yeah, so you're gonna quit this place and go do that full time? No. Come on. He's like, oh yeah, you are. No, I'm not. People knew it before I knew it. So it's kind of cool to see, having gone to the conference again this past February, to see how much has changed in just 1 year. It's just wild to me.
Why do you feel like other people could see that and you couldn't, when they were saying, oh, you're going to leave, and you're like, no, I'm not? What do you think that was? I
don't know, probably self-doubt, or not even knowing that there were people like me out there. I think being a part of these Facebook groups, having people in my corner, it's been amazing. It's very emotional, honestly. Yeah. It's important to keep learning always, and that's what I love most about the conferences.
And it is emotional when we get to reflect back on how far we've come, and we think, especially when we think of just coming into something, right? It's a lot of a self-discovery aspect for ourselves too, of, oh gosh, this is right in alignment with me, right? And all of a sudden I know I can't believe all this is out here. And it really is such a huge wave, right, that kind of gets swept up in. And I think it's really important that we never forget that, right? Whether we've been in business for 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, this feeling of what we get to do each day, and that we are living is what, in alignment with ourselves, because it is important that we do that. And with your corporate job, I know that you were kind of in this position of going, I'm sure you were, this is my question of how did you know when it was time to step out and go full time and prove those people right who were in your workplace?
Yeah. So the important part is to definitely keep an eye on your finances. I don't think this would have been possible had I not had a firm grasp on where my money was coming from and where it was going. And so I use a budget tracking platform called EveryDollar. And you basically enter how much you make. And then you literally list out every single expense you have, and things that you're saving up for. And it tells you at the top, whether you've overspent or whether you have money left over. And it's almost like a game. I love to gamify it. You see that number go up, 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 up. You're like, ooh, look at all this extra money. Okay. Getting excited, oh my gosh, if I stick to my budget, I'm going to have $2,000 left over at the end of the month. I could throw out my debt. This is awesome. But yeah, definitely you have to have you need to know where your numbers are at before you can make such a leap like that. And at the time, my company was being acquired by another company, and a lot of things were changing. You could just kind of feel the energy shift. And my position at the company was kind of being like dissolved, and they didn't flat out fire me, but they did say, like, if you want to keep working here, we're going to need you to go do this over there. And that was not something I had any interest in doing at all. And so I had been thinking about quitting anyway, probably closer to the end of the year, when I was done being in debt. But when this happened, I was like, this is it. This is the time. I need to do this now if I'm going to do it. Like, I don't want to like go through training and learning something new just to like quit 5 months later. Like, that's kind of crappy. I didn't want to do that to them either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I checked in with like my family and made sure everyone was in support of it. I have this awesome mentor, Mark McLean, and he's been helping me a lot too. I talk to him all the time. Yeah, he was one of the people that really was very instrumental from the very beginning, when I was starting out on Rover, because he has a course, Mastering Rover, that really helped me out a lot with getting like putting that white glove touch on how you speak to clients. Because as I'm sure you know, like you see these Facebook groups and people will be like, oh, can you believe this client? Da, 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 da. And like they screenshot like how they responded to the client. And you're just like, maybe you could have said that a little bit different. Could have a different response. So I've gotten into the habit of being like, hey, here's the situation. Here's what I'm thinking about saying. What are your thoughts? And he'll be like, let's tweak it a little bit, da, da, da. So like having people like that in your corner are super helpful to deliver that like top tier customer service. You know what I mean?
Well, no, it is so important to have a kind of a screening, someone to bounce those ideas off. It really is, because I know like I have that gut reaction of like, I'm just going to pound this out and I'm going to hit send. And then, you know, Megan will come by and she'll read it and go, are you sure that's what you want to send? That's what especially when you realize of like, okay, no, I'm representing our company, right? I'm going to put my company before me, and I'm going to go, how would a company respond? And right, and that's exactly what you're talking about, Lori. Of like, no, we need to not be. It's not that you're not being truthful, but you are presenting it in a way that you hope will be easier to receive on the other end. And at the end of the day, that when we talk about communication with clients, that's what we need this to be received. If we're just blasting stuff out there that's harsh, abrasive, that people bristle at that and they just push it away. But whenever you take the time to make sure that it's going to be received in a more positive light, or hopefully, right, that's where real communication can take place.
Yeah, it's the whole leading with empathy thing.
Oh, that's huge in everything that we do.
Yeah. And I call it sandwiching. Like if you have to deliver bad news, you kind of like sandwich it between like two good things. Right. You know? Like, I really love your dog. We love having them, but there's this troubling behavior that we're just not really sure about. And we want what's best for your dog.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I feel better after that. Thanks, Laura. But it is, because if we just throw out harsh and brazen information or facts, it's not actually going to change that person, or like, not that we're trying to change them, but it's less likely to be received to have the impact that we want. So we do have to sit there and go, how could I send this so it would have the most likely to impact this person? And just taking a few beats. And I found that sometimes it means I have to sleep on it, and I've got to just push it aside. I've got to have a good night's rest and then readdress it in the morning.
Yeah, my fiance is the yin to my yang, because he's like such a chill, calm person. And sometimes I'm like, oh, can you believe this? He's like, all right, how about we take a second?
Taking a walk. That's what we do whenever we get frustrated, when we're just going after it. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, we need to go take a walk and just breathe through this so that we can think clearly, because we want to have a good customer service. We want to treat people well. And at the end of the day, it is a business. And it's hard for us sometimes, especially in this industry, to not take things personally, to not jump to that and just think, oh, nope. From the client's perspective, they're just dealing with a business. So I have to keep my business hat on through this. Well, and so you're talking about how you were not necessarily forced into making this transition, but it was, you saw that door open before you and you leapt into that. What was that like for you to go from working in a corporate job, working in the office or sometimes from home, and now you're a business owner and you are doing this for everything?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely scary to take the jump, but honestly, much the day to day didn't change too much because we already had a very thriving, boarding part of our business. I say our, it's me, but my family's a part of it too.
I gotcha. No, I see. Yeah.
But essentially, I'm a big fan of like go all in and just jump in. My mantra for the year, is it okay to swear a little bit?
Okay, yeah, sure.
It's just do the damn thing. That has been my mantra this past year because I talk myself out of things so often, and sometimes you just have to believe in yourself. Like that person I worked with, he saw it in me before I saw it in myself. And I am very proud of my business. It's like my fourth child, really. I just got a sign made for out front of my house. Like I felt like I was like, even though my business has been around for a while-ish, putting that sign out front was just like such a big step. It's like, this is where I am. There's a business located here. Like, you know what I mean? I got like decals put on my car. I'm getting like artificial turf put in outside. Like I'm trying to make my home be this like destination that people bring their pets to. And I'm just so proud of every little thing that I do for my business, like installing the fence out here. Like people are always like, wow, you have a fenced in yard? Oh my God. Like I never realized how many people didn't have a fenced in yard until I started doing this. It's apparently a hot commodity.
Oh, well, for dogs, I'm sure it is. It is so fun to sit back and watch the business go, right? And go and it is something to be proud of, to go, yeah, that fence, like that's part of my hard work and my family being alongside and supporting me, and the sign and the clients and the marketing and joining chambers of commerce and being part of this stuff and doing the business is doing stuff. And as a service-based industry, it's hard sometimes to really see that impact, to see kind of how much it's grown, because we don't have a room full of boxes and my garage isn't filled with shipping material and I'm not doing orders or products or inventory. But to see things physically like happening is like, wow, like it's so cool to see that. And it is an amazing time to like just to appreciate the business. I know the business gives us a lot of headaches sometimes, right? Like, just being honest, but to go, man, this thing's doing stuff, and it's neat to see that.
I mean, I ordered stickers the other day, and when they came in, it was like Christmas morning. I was like, oh my God, it's my logo on a sticker. It's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, but as you also said, how often we talk ourselves out of stuff too, of not taking that step or not doing that thing. And I don't know about you, Lori, but for me, it's often a fear of, I mean, it's truly a fear of failure of, well, I don't want to do that and look stupid because it didn't work out. Or I don't want to do that because what if what I thought, what my understanding was wrong, and I actually don't understand what this is. So a lot of that self-doubt creeps in.
Yeah, I honestly feel like this is the first thing in my life I've like never given up on. Like, as weird as that sounds, I historically speaking, I'm someone who has a history of not following through with things. Like, oh, I'm going to start going to the gym. Oh, I'm going to start eating better. Like you always quit, right? Like every year I'm like, I'm going to give something up for Lent, and I make it like 2 weeks in, and I'm like, nope, can't do this. So if I can't even stick to something like that, how the heck am I going to stick to something that is so like huge, right?
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I just want to say, like, Harley just like unlocked a part of my heart that just I didn't even know I had this passion in me for pets, and now it just like pours out of me. It's so hard to put it into words, but like my mother-in-law was like, wow, you're like the dog whisperer. Like, just people can see it when I'm interacting with pets. Like, it's a gift, I guess you could say. But I'm not trying to like brag, but I do truly feel like it is a gift I didn't know that I had. And I'm so glad that I know that I have it now.
Well, I that was probably a silly question because I'm sure people were going, "What do you mean? It fits, right? What she can't not do it." And that's what's so cool, and what we get to do each day, and the struggle and blessings of being your own business owner, being a business owner, is that you get to guide and drive and lead where you want to. So it kind of it should always stay in your passion, and that. Why wake up and do it? Well, it's like, because this is kind of part of who I am, right? This is an outpouring of how I view myself, right? And that I need to do this, to give back, to support, to help people, and to have this, to do something with this passion, because otherwise I just sit in my room and go crazy without an outlet for this.
Yeah. I mean, it got to the point when I was at my corporate job where like I felt like I could feel my brain cells dying. I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but like it just wasn't doing anything for me anymore. Like I didn't find it as, because, I did the customer service part for like the first 4 years of working there. And then I moved into a different role for the last 2. And I was very good at that job. And it took very little brain power at a certain point to be good at that job. I wasn't feeling like I had any like future to work towards. I felt very stuck in the role that I was in. I wasn't really sure like what my career path was. I kept asking and not getting a clear answer. And after getting like one new boss after the other, I felt like I was just kind of like bouncing around, and I just got like tired of it. I was just like, where am I going? What am I doing? Like, I was just kind of getting antsy and bored, and like, and this part-time job of mine was like filling up all of my buckets, like this little thing on the side that I'm doing, right? Like, and it got to be where like I felt like I wanted to spend more of my time doing it. And it got to the point where I had to make a decision of either dialing it back or like going all in, because the demand was getting higher and higher. And I'm like, well, I have to still work my full-time job. I can't like not do that. So I either need to like quit and do this full time, or like put it on the back burner and like, and that's where the numbers really came in for me. Like, if I were to do this full time and I had 8 hours a day to devote to this, could I make the same, if not more money doing this, something that I love, versus this other job where I just kind of feel stuck and like mentally bored,
Yeah, no, I completely understand you were coming from. Before we went full time, I would go into my office at where I worked, and I would sit in my chair and just like spin in circles because there was nothing for me to do, and it was just like this is, and it is interesting, part of that of going, I'm really good at this, but it's not kind of challenging me anymore, and I do need more in this, and I need something. And boy howdy, let me tell you, going full time in your own business, it's challenges galore, right? But all of a sudden it's like, the learning new things becomes fascinating, because it's fueled by this passion for this other stuff of, okay, I really want to give the best pet care possible to these pets in my hometown. That fuels my passion to learn about SEO, right? And learn about marketing, and learn about what it means to be a business, and learn about all the different softwares, and like that, those all become little outlets for how do I now put this whole thing together. It's hard to believe that 2025 is so quickly approaching, and our friends at the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters have just announced their Enrich and Elevate 2025 conference being held in Tempe, Arizona, from February 28th through March 2nd. Their goal is to bring together industry leaders with session topics that are idea-focused and on a wide range of subjects to foster learning and inspiration for your mind, your body, and your business. Early registration is open right now through September 30th for only $205. Conference registration includes welcome reception, coffee and beverage service, snacks, lunch on Saturday, and a conference t-shirt. The NAPS conference is the perfect opportunity to network with industry vendors, attend valuable educational sessions, and gain specific industry knowledge. The NAPS conference is a wise investment and will pay off for years to come. Learn more at the NAPS website, petsitters.org, and register today. Now, I know one of the something I think that kind of shaped how you work and kind of your mindset around what you do. You had a pretty serious bite back in May. Was that last year?
Yeah, 2023.
Okay. Yeah. How did that change your approach to your business?
Yeah, that was definitely a turning point for me. At that time, I was still doing it part-time. I didn't have any protections in place aside from pet sitters insurance. I didn't have a contract or anything, which I now, looking back, I'm like, what was I doing? But thankfully, I have really great clients. I have great relationships with my owners. And when the bite happened, they offered to pay for, the trip to the ER and all of that, kind of paid me for lost wages and what have you, wow, which I really very much appreciated. But the bite between me and the dog was a dog I felt like I had a very good relationship with. I had been working with him for almost a year at that point, and it really felt like a breach of trust to me. And it really kind of made me question, if this were to happen again, would I still want to do this, right? Let's have it just be the one time and not have it happen again. What can we do to prevent this from happening in the future? And that's kind of the way I always look at things. What is the learning moment here and how can we make sure we don't repeat it? So obviously having that contract in place was a huge thing for me. I'm a lot more selective with the types of dogs I work with now. If I encounter any dog that even remotely reminds me of that dog, I'm like, my spidey senses are like, nope, not this one. So, when we have dogs that are interested in boarding or daycare, we really I don't want to say we have 3 meet and greets. That sounds crazy, but we will have, I might even just go over to their house on my own, meet the dog, meet the family, get a good feel for them. If that goes well, then I'll have that dog meet my dog at the park in a neutral location, because my dog doesn't take too kindly to random dogs she's never met before showing up at her house. So we always kind of meet in a neutral spot. Yeah. And then I'll have them over for a trial run daycare or a trial run overnight, because I want to make sure that not only me, but my kids, I would never forgive myself if something happened to them. I want to make sure that everyone feels safe, including the dog. That's what the family is like. So I just want to make sure everyone is happy and everything's good.
Yeah, it makes you, an event like that really makes you take that big step back and go, okay, how was I operating to lead me to this point? And then if I don't like where I am, which we wouldn't, you didn't, you went, okay, what do I need? What does that mean now for how I operate? And that's those moments come throughout our entire business. But, for you taking that step back going, okay, what's my screening process like? What's my onboarding process like? How do I do these assessments? And how do I learn about this pet behavior? And how do I all of a sudden that now drives again, fuels that I've got to do something different because I don't want this to happen again. And especially whenever you talk about the trial days, I mean, that is so important. People for doing boarding and daycare in your home, trial days are a must, especially if that person's going on a long trip, because you don't want that dog in your house with an inability to do anything with them. We talk, okay, I need to keep my life simple, and the stress of having a dog like that in my home for multiple days, not simple, right? That's not nice. So what do I do to prevent that?
Definitely more selective, and basically everything's probationary, right? I never say yes, definitely. I'm always all right, well, pending the trial run, if that goes well, and let's make sure that you're around and not going to be stuck in Boston all day. If I need to call you and say you need to pick your dog up because he's trying to bite everybody, I need to know that you can be here soon to come get him and bring him home. So,
well, and being more selective is hard, because it does mean that we're going to tell people no. It does mean that now all of a sudden we've got a line that we've drawn a lot closer to ourselves for our protective reasons, and now we've got to have that tough conversation of, of being more selective means that there's a potential for now more confrontation with a potential client by telling them no. That's just what that means. But if we are doing things like you and I just talked about, as far as like reviewing what we send before we send it and like making sure it's presented in a professional and kind manner, they're hopefully going to receive that a little bit easier. But do you ever get pushback from people whenever you have to tell them it's not a good fit?
These days, no. Like even just this morning, I had to basically retract my offer to have someone over for daycare because I just had this feeling that it wasn't going to be a good fit. And I was like, maybe it'll be fine. And then I'm like, no. So I had to message them and be like, actually, I don't think so. And they were very understanding about it. So I think it's all in the way you word it, really.
Now, after the bite, Lori, did you ever think about just stopping entirely and going, no, this isn't for me? Let me go do something else.
Maybe for like a split second. I spent a lot of that evening after it happened, like just replaying it in my head. And was it me? Was there something I could have done differently? Like, why and how did that happen? And basically, I just try to take everything as a learning opportunity. I mean, aside from the bite, there was even like one time where a cat like kind of attacked me while I was scooping their litter box. And that was wild. Come to find out, cats can and will do that. Some cats will do that because it's like, that's their like treasures and you're taking their treasures. It's interesting, but don't put your back to a cat when you're scooping their litter box. That's my fun fact for you for today. Okay. But like, even when that happened, I read online that you can buy like the feel away spray and you can spray it on your clothes and that releases like the mother scent basically, right? Like it mimics that. And so I always do that before I go into any cat's home now because, like I was saying before, one and done. We don't want that to happen ever again. But yeah, I'm more selective now. I do test days. I'm just always trying to learn. Like I learned a lot from the bite about dog body language. I misinterpreted what was happening in that moment. Actually, I think I learned this at the Texas Pet Sitters conference about like, when dogs present their bellies to you, like there's like apparently different ways that they do that. And like when they only have like one leg up, it's actually like please don't hurt me.
Yeah.
And not like I want belly rubs. And I misread his cues. And that's when the bite happened. So like just not throwing in the towel when any little inconvenience happens, but like trying to learn from it and grow from it and do better for it. And like now I'm always like, is that actually a belly rub? Are you actually looking for a belly rub, or like you're trying to signal me? So I'm just way more cautious now. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I know that some people can feel as though like, there's they're too cautious, right? They're too into this or whatever. But I know for us, my thing is doors and like escape artists around doors. I watch how normal people open a door to a house, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like it's just it goes wide open, and it just hangs there full for everything to come and go. And even if I know that there's not an animal in the house, like I can't help myself anymore. Like that door squeaks open and squeaks shut as fast as it can.
I know. I was at my aunt's house for Easter, and like I was bringing stuff out to the car, and I just like left her door open. I was like, wow, I can't even remember the last time I left someone's door wide open like this.
It feels we're starting to get into the summer months, and we don't board or do daycare as much as we used to, and most of the time we don't have anybody here, and yeah, we'll leave that front door open with the weather's nice and have a breeze through the house. And yeah, I walk through the house and I kind of jolt a little bit when I see that front door open because it's it ingrains, and that is as we build those habits, like that's what makes us so excellent at executing our jobs, right? Those reactions, those things, those habits that we build into our day and our life allow us to go into those situations and assess them well and do amazing work, is when when those little things become habits.
Yeah. I always tell people in meet and greets that I've got like ninja quick reflexes when it comes to opening and closing doors. I know how to get in and get out real quick. I work with a lot of cats, and you know how cats like to try to run out when you open the door. So I'm always like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Lori, I know you said, you used the word we earlier, and kind of, your family's involved in this too. What's that been like, taking them on this journey?
It's been awesome. I think about this a lot, and like, I hope that when they're older, they'll look back on their childhood and be like, oh, it was so cool. My mom was a pet sitter. We had dogs around all the time. It was so much fun. There was this one, he was so cute. Like, I'm just like picturing them talking about it 10 years from now,
Yeah.
They all have their favorites. It's so cute to see them make connections with like specific dogs that come through. And I love snapping pictures of them with the dogs and like sending it off to the owners, because a lot of my pet parents have kids, and so I think they love knowing that I have kids, because their pets will get loved on the way that they're used to getting loved on at home. So I feel like it's like an added bonus, right? Like, oh, you don't just get me taking care of your dog. You get Chris, you get my kids, you get my roommate. Like, there's like 6 people in this house that are just going to love on your dog, So I feel like it helps us stand out from like a kennel or a traditional boarding type of situation. Like, this really is a family-based business for us. So
we found some of our biggest proponents were grandparents who love seeing who had, grandkids, and then they could see their dog with, our kids. And it just, they loved that, because then they knew, they love seeing those photos, because it made them think about their grandkids. And they really fell in love with that as a service to them.
Yeah. So cute.
For you, Lori, what, you've been on just a wild journey. It seems like everything's happened so fast, and some things that you said, you had to learn a lot from and grow from. What would you say that some of your biggest takeaways so far are from growing and being your business?
Being a giant people pleaser, I definitely have a hard time saying no. Yeah. So we are practicing using that word more often. Just really putting things in place to like make my life easier. Like, when I was doing it part-time, was very much like using just Google Calendar, trusting that my brain would remember things, and it wasn't. It got to the point last summer where like I was almost forgetting to like show up to people's houses, because like if it wasn't on my calendar, it didn't exist, and if I forgot to add it to my calendar, it definitely didn't exist. So like,
yeah,
I never forgot, thankfully, but I remember there was one part I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna go see a cat right now. Like,
yeah. Oh gosh.
Oh man. Does that resonate?
It does. Where you're just, everything's fine, and then whatever crusty bit of my brain finally broke loose, and it was like, oh, run.
Yeah, not being afraid to admit you need help. So like, at the conference, for example, everyone is screaming from the mountaintops, time to build. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? But it's honestly, it has like saved my life. And now I don't even have to worry about like collecting payments. Like, I require prepayment at the start. Back when I first started, I would do like, oh, well, how about you pay me $100 deposit now, and then you can pay me the rest later. And then you're like worried, are they actually going to send the money? Are they actually going to send the money when the service is over and complete? So like, now it's all just like, here's my policy outlined in my agreement. You pay before you book. Like, I don't have to worry about it. Everything's on autopilot. And I recently switched over to using lockboxes, which, thank you, Doug. That was amazing. You guys talked about it too in one of your episodes. So like, that kind of like got the gears going. And then I'm taking Doug's positive hiring course right now. And he's doing that in conjunction with Michelle, and they're doing the solo to team thing, because I'm dying to hire, because I would like some time back in my day.
Yeah.
It can get kind of crazy during like, we're about to have April school vacation week, and I'm already anticipating working like 12, 13, 14, 15-hour days that week, because it's just me. So I would love, the whole reason this all started, going back to when we started this conversation, was for my kids. Like, I want to create a better life for them. And if I'm not around, like, I'm missing out on their childhood. I want to make sure that I'm home in the evenings and on the weekends, and like having that quality time. I'm working so hard. I want to make sure that like we're having a little bit of fun too, like go and take the kids for ice cream, something simple. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it can be so hard to fit time in for something so simple like that when you're like bopping around visit to visit,
Yeah. No, it is. We were at a networking event and somebody asked me, how big are you going to grow your business? Right. And how big, what growth? What are you going to grow? Right? And I just was thought for a moment. And I was like, whatever gets me more time with my kids at the end of the day, like, I don't know, like that's really what I want. And we want our business to give us that. That's what the point of the business is to serve people well and our clients, give them exceptionally high quality pet care service and peace of mind, and have a home life, right? And have time with our kids, because that's time you don't get back, right? And that is so like central to what we do. And so absolutely, see that and how you're growing and everything, and taking those small moments. It's like, because we can feel like, I got to go on a vacation and I got to go do this thing and we got to travel and it's like, no, get an ice cream bar and sit in a park. Like that's all, like that's all they want. And it's like, that's what I need too. So keeping things again, simple, and that's hard for me.
Yes, I'm so proud of my business, and I want to be around to serve everyone all the time. And sometimes it's just really important to like, I'm going on a retreat this weekend, and like I had to turn business down, and that's really hard for me. I don't like doing that, and because you worry in the back of your mind, are they going to go find somebody else because I couldn't help them this one time? Occasionally that happens. Okay, well, I guess that's that, but I got to take time off too. It's important.
No.
Yeah.
Lori, I want to really thank you for your time with us today and for taking that away from things and talking to us about your story, talking about us the importance of investing in ourselves, how you pay close attention to those finances and how that impacts our ability to make those good decisions and to just do the damn work and get ready to go all in. So I want to thank you for that, Lori, and encouraging us in that way. For those who want to follow along with all the cool stuff that you're doing and reach out and get in touch, how best can they do that?
Sure. I'm most active, I would say, on Instagram. So that would just be Stow Road Pet Sitters on Instagram or Facebook. I'm not super like busy on my socials because I'm busy taking care of dogs. But when I do have the time, I get on there and I try to post some fun, cute content for you guys.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I will have those links in the show notes and on the website so people can click right to those and start following along with all the cool stuff and just get to know you more, Lori. So thank you again. I really, really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing. And it's an immense blessing. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
During my interview with Lori, she talked about how she learned empathy from working in customer service and how that was crucial to understanding and meeting the needs of both the pets and their owners. This is often an overlooked secret sauce in our business. We focus so much on the pet care, which is obviously extremely important. But when we forget about, or when we push aside or relegate customer service to secondary or tertiary issues, our business actually does suffer. The experience that people have when interacting with our business, when speaking with us. What are cancellations like? What are bookings like? What are special requests like? And how are those handled? How are concerns received and dealt with? Every aspect of those shows our level of professionalism and concern for both the pet and their owner. Your clients want to be felt and seen and heard when they have concerns. It's not saying that they're always right, but it is saying that you have taken time to at least hear them out and then make a decision. That little step as things come up, or the extra detail that you show to the words that they're using when they mention a concern, shows your level of professionalism, shows that you care deeply for them and their pet. And at the end of the day, that's exactly what we want. We want to thank today's sponsors, Time to Pet, and the National Association of Professional Pet Sitters for making today's show possible. We also want to thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll be back again soon.